say, with everything going on, I'm a bit nervous to turn my phone off for half an hour, 45 minutes. We really don't know what will have happened by the time we turn it back on. Today I want to set out what's at stake for Britain. Because while politics is always about choices, the choice now is as stark as it gets. We face a battle for the soul of our country, who we are, who we're for. The Labour choice is a Britain that is fairer, greener and more dynamic. A Britain where we rebuild our public services to provide opportunity and security. Tackle the climate emergency head on. Use it to create jobs and industries of the future. Restore faith in politics as a force for good. Get Britain's hope, its confidence and its future back.
Imagine you throw a massive party, invite everyone in the country, tell them it is going to be brilliant, and then, within 12 months, everyone is demanding their money back and asking for a new party organiser. Well, that is exactly what is happening to Keir Starmer right now, and frankly, it is absolutely spectacular political theatre. More than 1 million Britons have signed a petition demanding a snap general election, and today, right now as we speak, Parliament is holding a crunch debate about it. This is not just grumbling at the pub, this is formal, serious, legitimate democratic pressure on a government that promised the earth and, in the eyes of many, has delivered a lot of broken promises and U-turns. Buckle up because the numbers are genuinely staggering. Quick favour, if you are loving this already, hit that subscribe button. Over 94% of viewers have not yet, and it's free, takes a second, and absolutely means the world to us, honestly. Also, smash that notifications bell, because we break down the biggest political stories the moment they land. Now, back to the show. Let us set the scene properly. A petition demanding an immediate general election has now crossed 1 million signatures. 1 million! To put that in perspective, that is roughly 1 in 30 of the entire UK population actively saying, no, we need to go back to the polls. That is not a handful of unhappy people. That is a legitimate political earthquake. The debate is happening in Westminster Hall at 4:30 this afternoon, and it's expected to run for up to 3 hours. 3 hours of MPs standing up and essentially saying to Keir Starmer, the public has spoken, Prime Minister, and they want you gone. The core complaint is beautifully straightforward. The petition literally states, we want an immediate general election to be held. We think the majority need and want change. Simple, direct, impossible to misinterpret. The government, when they initially responded to the earlier petition threshold, tried to spin it with the usual government waffle about their mandate and rebuilding Britain. They said they were elected in July 2024 on a mandate of change, and their focus is on fixing the foundations. That's all well and good until you realize that the people who actually voted for that mandate are now actively petitioning to undo it. That is a rather significant problem. Here's where the plot truly thickens, though. The policies that have driven this fury are genuinely eye-watering. Winter fuel payments being slashed, hitting vulnerable pensioners, was controversial on day one. The backlash was immediate and it was fierce. Pensioners who voted Labour, who believed in the party's message, suddenly found themselves facing a genuinely difficult choice between heating and eating. That is not hyperbole. That is what winter fuel payment cuts mean for vulnerable people. Labour walked into that with their eyes wide open, and the public absolutely punished them for it. The anger did not fade, it festered. Then came the family farm tax, which essentially threatened to dismantle family farms across the country because of inheritance tax changes. Picture this. You've spent your entire life building a farm. You've got thousands of acres, you've got livestock, you've got equipment, and then you pass away and your children suddenly face an inheritance tax bill that is potentially catastrophic. You might have to sell the farm just to pay the tax on inheriting it. People were absolutely furious about that one, and rightly so. Farmers were marching on Parliament, families were genuinely scared about their futures, and Labour looked completely tone-deaf to the entire issue. But it didn't stop there. Labour promised no digital ID, they promised no tax on jobs, they promised this and they promised that, and then turned around and did the opposite. U-turn after U-turn after U-turn. It's like watching someone repeatedly promise not to eat the last biscuit and then continuing to eat biscuits anyway. Eventually, people stop believing anything you say. Trust is the most valuable commodity in politics, and Starmer has spent his first year in office absolutely squandering it. The really fascinating bit is where the petition signatures are coming from geographically. You'd expect this to be purely a Conservative protest, right? Conservative voters angry at a Labour government. And yes, the numbers do show exactly that. Brentwood and Ongar, Castle Point, Braintree, Raleigh and Wickford, Malden, all of these are Conservative strongholds, and they've absolutely gone to town with the signatures. These are seats that were previously solid blue, and now they're essentially saying, right, we've had enough. But here's the genuinely concerning bit for Starmer. There are also Labour constituencies showing significant anger. Portsmouth North received more than 2,800 signatures. Burnley, which is a Labour seat, also got over 2,800. That's internal bleeding. That's Labour voters in Labour constituencies saying we did not vote for this. But wait, there's more. Nigel Farage's seat of Clacton, that Reform UK stronghold, also clocked up 2,854 signatures. So you've got Conservatives angry, Labour voters angry, and Reform supporters angry. That's basically everyone, isn't it? That's the entire political spectrum united in a desire to get back to the polls. That's not normal. That's genuinely unprecedented. When was the last time Tories, Labour and Reform voters were all on the same page about anything? This tells you just how significantly things have gone wrong for the government. John Lamont, the Tory MP opening the debate today, has absolutely not held back. He said, people are sick of all the mistakes that Keir Starmer and this Labour government are making, whether it's the tax on jobs, the family farm tax, the U-turn on winter fuel payments, digital ID, the list is endless. People have had enough and they want change. That's not diplomatic, that's pure, undiluted fury. Then you've got Alex Burghardt from Brentwood and Ongar piling on, calling Labour the most unpopular government in history. That's an extraordinary claim, but with 1 million people signing a petition for a snap election, you can actually back that claim up with numbers. That's genuinely damaging for any sitting government. Now, here's the brilliant bit that will absolutely frustrate the 1 million people who signed this petition. A snap election is incredibly unlikely to actually happen. Incredibly unlikely. You see, the government abolished the Fixed-Term Parliaments Act, which used to require a special vote to hold an early election. They brought back the royal prerogative, which means the Prime Minister can call an election whenever they want. But here's the thing, Keir Starmer won't call an election until he absolutely has to. He controls Parliament with a Labour majority. Why would he voluntarily go back to the voters when he could wait to 2029 and hope things improve? The only mechanism that theoretically could force an election is a no-confidence motion in the government. If the government lost a no-confidence motion, Parliament would be dissolved and an election would be called. But the likelihood of that happening is next to zero. Labour has a commanding majority in the Commons. You would need a significant number of Labour MPs to rebel, potentially all of the opposition parties to vote against the government, and you'd still need to get through. It simply isn't going to happen. The last time a Prime Minister actually lost a no-confidence motion was 1979, when James Callaghan lost to Margaret Thatcher. That was 45 decades ago. Before that, you've got to go back to 1924, with Stanley Baldwin and Ramsay MacDonald. We're talking about genuinely rare historical events.
Boris Johnson and Theresa May both faced no confidence votes in recent years. Boris won his by 109 votes, Theresa May's by 19. Even when they were deeply unpopular, even when MPs were actively plotting against them, they still won, and Boris was genuinely loathed by his own party by the end. The difference here is that Keir Starmer, whatever you think of his policies, still has his party behind him. Labour MPs are not going to vote against their own government over a petition, no matter how many signatures it's got. So what does this petition actually achieve then? It's democracy in action, genuinely. It gives voice to 1 million Britons who are unhappy. It forces Parliament to debate the issue. It puts pressure on the government, even if it doesn't result in an election. It creates a public record of dissatisfaction. In theory, this is all good stuff, but in practical terms, Keir Starmer will walk out of this debate today with his majority intact and his path to the next election untouched. Labour will still be in power when people want to go to the polls. The petition will be a curiosity in history, not a game changer. What's genuinely interesting, though, is what this tells us about the mood in the country. When you've got Conservative constituencies, Labour constituencies and Reform constituencies all united in demanding an election, you've got a fundamental shift in public confidence. People are not just unhappy, they're actively requesting a different government. That's a significant message, even if it doesn't result in an immediate election. It's something Starmer and his team will have to grapple with. The question is whether they'll learn anything from it, or whether they'll just hope that things improve enough by 2029 to make people forget about this moment. The debate, starting at 4:30 today, will be 3 hours of essentially the same message being repeated by various MPs. The government is unpopular, people want change, and you should call an election. Starmer probably won't even attend. Anna Turley, a Labour minister, will respond.